Hello everyone, how are you all doing today? I hope everyone is good. Alright, now today we are diving into an essential part of testing, the ATM login validation process. This test case will focus on ensuring that login functionality works smoothly when a valid card and valid PIN code are used. This is an example of positive testing, where we verify that the system behaves as expected under ideal conditions. Let's break this down step by step. Okay? Now, let me show you something. Okay. So here, the objective here is straightforward. We want to validate that an ATM processes a login attempt correctly when the user provides the right card and PIN. Simply enough. But the test requires a clear understanding of prerequisites, test data, test steps, and expected results. So first, let's talk about prerequisites. Okay. Before we even start testing, some conditions must be met. These are like the pen and paper you need to take before the exams. So here's what we need. The ATM machine should be functional. This means it should be powered on, operational, and displaying the welcome or home screen. Then we need to valid test data. In this case, a valid card and a valid PIN code is needed. Now, here's a question for you all. Where do we get all this data from? Who is responsible for providing it? Think about this. Is it the data analyst, the business analyst, or someone else entirely? If you say business analyst, here's general correction. The analyst defines requirements and scenarios, but doesn't provide test data. The responsibility usually falls on either the developer, tester, uh, or test lead. It's crucial to use the correct terms here. Okay. In interview or real life scenarios, avoid saying data analyst unless you are 100% sure that they handle test data in your organization. Now, let's address something equally important, requirements. Imagine you are testing an ATM and you are unsure what will it display a message. Okay. On the screen or provide verbal instruction after inserting a card. What do? You clarify this during the refinement session. That's when you ask the business analyst to provide a detailed explanation. For example, they might tell you a suggestion will pop up on the screen after inserting the card. Once clarified, your test cases can be written with confidence. You should never proceed with unclear requirements. Now let's move on to the core of our session, the test steps. Here I will guide you step by step and will outline what we expect at each stage. Think of this as instruction for performing the test and what we expect in the outcomes. So the step one is simple. Okay. So here, so you can see the test steps. Here are the test steps. Here, the step one is navigate the ATM booth. So here, mm, Action is to approach the ATM and ensure it's accessible. The machine should be powered on and ready for use. The screen should display a welcome or home screen. Okay. Now the second one is insert a valid card. So you should insert the card into the designated slot. The machine should recognize the card and prompt you to enter the PIN. Now, depending on the requirement, this prompt could be a pop-up message on the screen or even a verbal instruction. Always clarify this during the refinement session. Now, the third one is entering a valid PIN code. So, you should use the keypad to input the correct PIN. The system should verify the PIN and display the next set of options like withdrawing money. So, like withdraw money, balance check, or deposit money. Since we are testing login functionality, we'll proceed with the withdrawal option. Okay. Now, in step 4, you should select the withdrawal option from the displayed option. The machine should navigate to the next step, asking you to enter the withdrawal amount. Then the next step is the withdrawal amount enter. Enter the desired amount to withdraw. You should input the amount you wish to withdraw using the keypad. The expected result should be the system should validate the amount against the available account balance. If it's valid, the system should proceed to confirmation. Then in the next step, you should press and enter, entering the amount and press the button to finalize the transaction. The ATM should process the transaction, display a success message, and dispense the cash. So the login process is now complete. So we have just talked about the login scenario. So let's take it as test case 001. The test case name can be validate or assert login in successful with valid PIN code. The test description is validate login is successful with valid card and valid PIN code. Here the test data are given like a card and 1234 PIN code, etc. Okay. Now, here are some common mistakes. Like always focus on the specific test case. For example, if you're testing login functionality, don't bring in scenarios like checking balance or printing receipts. Those are separate test cases. Then never start writing test steps without fully understanding the requirements. If something is unclear, ask during the refinement session. Then over detailing. Don't include unnecessary details like taking the card out of your wallet. Stick to your relevant steps. Okay, so to sum up, testing ATM login functionality with valid card and PIN is straightforward but requires a lot of prerequisites. Now, so here the steps one can be inserting the card as I mentioned. Imagine you are at the ATM, you insert your valid card. Okay, so step one is insert card. Step two is PIN. Step 3 is select amount. So imagine you are at the ATM, you insert your valid debit card. What should happen next? The expected result is a message should be wait, I will show you something. So the expected result should be please enter your PIN code. A message should be displayed. Then in step two, you should enter the PIN code. Once your PIN code, let's say is valid. What should the machine do? It's expected to successfully log in. Then in the withdrawal option, you should navigate through the withdrawal menu and here the system shows you the withdrawal option. For instance, choose an amount like 500, 1000, 2000, etc. Then the expected result should be the withdrawal amount appears and you select an amount confirm and voila, the case is dispensed. Okay. Now we need to test every step with clear and precise expectations. Remember, actual results might differ, so always analyze discrepancies. Now you can write case for expired card. Okay, like we'll write case to validate the system shows an error message where the card is expired. So um, let me show you the validation one. Okay, this one. Then here's how we can phrase it like validate that the ATM machine displays an error message uh, when an expired card is inside. It is test case 2. Okay. Now for prerequisite the ATM machine, you should select check that the ATM machine is in working order. Then insert the expired card. After that, what happens next? A message will be shown like please insert a valid debit card on the screen. When we test with an expired card, we must specify is it a debit card or a credit card. Why? Because if the ATM accepts some expired cards and not others, that's a huge bug. So if you're testing an expired Bank of America debit card, it's a separate case from the testing an expired Wells Fargo credit card. Each needs a unique test case ID, steps, and expected results. Okay. Now, think of test scenarios as high level. Let's discuss the difference between test scenarios. Test scenarios versus test case. Think of test scenarios as high-level ideas or objective. For example, test ATM login functionality where can be a test scenario, and the test case should be the detailed steps of to test how a user logs in. For example, test scenario can be scenario can be testing withdrawal functionality. And test case should be like insert valid card, enter pin, select withdrawal, enter amount and deposit. Sorry, dispensed. Cash is dispensed. Test scenarios are like broad and test cases break them into actionable changes. Now, the secret to great testing is to think like an user, whether it's an e-commerce site, a phone, or an ATM. You have already used these systems. Leverage that experience to find bugs. If you're confused, step back. Ask yourself, what would a real tester do? That's your starting point for scenarios and cases. So, um, then the test case is like to ensure that the registration page loads as expected with all the necessary elements displayed and accessible. Open the application or website in the browser or app. Navigate on the registration page. Observe the following, like page loads without errors or delays. The interface matches the design specifications. All mandatory fields and buttons are visible. So the registration page loads completely and displays all the required fields like name, email, password, confirm password, and register button. No broken elements or missing items are observed. Now, to ensure that the mandatory fields are clearly marked and visible on the registration page, look for fields marked as mandatory. Verify that these fields are marked with indicators like an asterisk or any other visual clues. All mandatory fields are displayed with a clear marking. Instructions, if provided, like field marks with asterisks are mandatory, are clearly visible. To check all input fields, checkboxes and drop-downs are functional and responsive. Click on each field and try entering the sample data. Verify the response, like text appearing in text fields or drop-down showing options. For buttons, verify they are clickable and shows feedback, like color change or animation on click, etc. So all fields are you should expect all fields are functional and expect input as designs. No errors or unresponsiveness occur when interacting with the fields. Now let's verify um, validation for mandatory fields. To ensure that the system enforces proper validation for mandatory field, you should leave mandatory fields empty and click register. Then enter invalid data into the fields such as wrong email like test at the rate, password 123 or 112 less than the required line, and observe if the error message is displayed. So an error message should appear for empty or invalid fields. For example, email is required or please enter a valid email address. The error message clearly indicates the issue and how to fix it. Then to confirm that the form submits successfully when all mandatory fields are correctly filled, enter valid data in all mandatory fields. So like abc@gmail.com, password like pass@123, and confirm password the same one. Then click register button and observe the response. So this time the form should submit successfully. A confirmation message appears like registration successful or welcome, the name of the client. The user is redirected to the appropriate page such as login page or user dashboard. Now, to validate the system's behavior when incorrect or incomplete data is entered, we should check by negative testing. Negative testing. So here they submit the form with empty fields. So here they submit the form with empty fields, incorrect data format like number is in the name field or invalid email address. Okay, then they observe, you should observe the system's behavior. So here the result should be errors are displayed for each invalid input. For example, like password do not match or name cannot contain numbers. The form doesn't submit until all the errors are corrected. Okay, so you understand till now? Now, to ensure error messages are user-friendly and consistent, there is a step called trigger validation. Trigger validation errors by entering incorrect or incomplete data. To verify the error message text, the placement of error messages like below or beside the relevant field, and the consistency of font, color, and design. So error messages should be clear, concise, and help the user understand the problem. For example, password must be at least 8 characters and include a special character. It should be displayed as error message. Now, to validate that registration functionality works across different browsers, you should test the registration page on uh, you should test the registration page on Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Safari, etc. Repeat the above test cases on each of the browsers. So here you can check the registration functionality behaves consistently across all browsers. No browser-specific issues are observed. Now to verify registration page adapts correctly to different device, open the registration page on devices like various screen size like desktop, tablet, mobile. Okay. Now observe the layout and visibility and functionality. So the registration page layout adjusts properly for all screen sizes. No overlapping text or cutoff elements are observed. Then for security testing, to ensure the registration form is secure against common vulnerabilities, Enter SQL injection strings in text fields like um, one, one equals one, or dash dash, etc. You should also enter cross-site scripting like XSS in fields. For example, script alert XXSS script and submit the form. The system sanitizes input and prevents injection attacks. No sensitive information is exported, so you should check this. Then, for accessibility testing, to verify the registration page is accessible to users with disabilities, test the page with a screen reader. Then attempt to navigate and fill the form using only the keyboard. Verify fields at proper level and focus indicators. The expected result should be the page is usable with assistive technologies. Then the labels are meaningful and correctly associated with the input fields. Okay. Now, to validate default text and field limits, to check the behavior of default text and character limits, verify that placeholder text disappears when the user starts typing. Then attempt to exceed character limits in fields. So the result should be default text is user-friendly and disappears as expected. And the fields enforce characters limit like 50 characters max. So, so, um, let me show you. So the test case 1001 can be validate a web page, like web page should be validate perfectly with mandatory fields. Then navigate to test step should be navigate to the registration page. The prerequisite should be like a proper email and password. And the expected result should be the page loads perfectly with all the mandatory fields, such as first name, last name, etc. Then in test case 2, it is the validate all the fields are functional. So here we should validate all the fields should be functional and clickable for users. The prerequisite are also the proper email and password. Then you should navigate to the registration page, click on the first name and type, your name. Then click on the last name and type another your last name like Abraham. Then click on the email ID, celia@gmail.com. So here the registration page loads perfectly with all the mandatory fields such as first name, last name, email, address, etc. The fields should be uh, typable and clickable. So here the scenarios we are working on is registration. So so here there is a unique identifier sourced from tools like Confluence or Jira automatically generated to link the requirements to our test cases. For example, requirement 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the test is we should check the test case ID is unique and ties directly to our scenarios. And name it descriptively. For example, you can name it TC01 validate registration page. Then the test case descriptions defines what the test case intends to validate. For example, the registration page should load perfectly with all mandatory fields visible and functional. Then in some cases, we need test data such as specific URLs, user details, and configuration. For this case, copy the URL of the registration page into the prerequisite action of your test case. For example, like example.com/register. Now for test step 1, we should navigate to the registration page in the browser until using the provided URL. So here the registration page should load successfully, displaying all mandatory fields such as first name, last name, email, address, password, confirm password, etc. Okay. Now, what are the validation points of the registration field? Step by step validation. Here, ensure each mandatory field is visible and clearly labeled, like first name to last name, then email, password, confirm password. Yes, the field should allow input. For example, typing in John should populate the first name field. Now, there should be field specific validation. The email should only accept validate email formats. And the password must enforce rule like minimum 8 characters, one special character, etc. Then ensure all mandatory fields are functional before moving on to the next step. For example, input valid data for each field. Create an account button. The button should be visible and clickable after valid data is entered in all fields. Then click the Create Account button. Upon clicking, the system should display a verification message and redirect the user to a welcome page or dashboard upon successful verification. Then there can be uh, and the verification can be two-step verification. The system may send a PIN or code to the provided contact method like email or phone and verify that the code is received and is functional. After the user successfully input the code and proceed to the dashboard home. Now for error handling, you can enter invalid credentials like incorrect email format. The system should display an error message like invalid email address. So leaving empty fields empty ensures proper error prompt like the field is required. These are the edge cases. Okay. Now after successfully registration complete, the user should be redirected to the home page. Then check that the home page contains a welcome message or user specific content. Now let's show you another thing. Epic. So the Epic name is the registration process. It allows user to register and create account with valid credential. Okay. Now the feature list can be registration, login, search, add to cart, payment, etc. The user story can be, for example, as a user, I want to register an account so that I can access to platform features. The acceptance criteria can be the registration must have fields for first name, email address, telephone number, password. Then the create account button should be visible and clickable and should have blue background and will be located at the bottom right of the field. Then, upon successfully registration, the user must be redirected to the home page. After that, the system should validate the email address is unique and that the password meets the website password policy. Then the system should validate with database that securely shows customers' information, including personal details. There can be OTP validations with email or mobile. Okay. So, why is it important to validate functionality? This ensures traceability, so anyone reviewing the test case knows exactly which requirement is addressed. So you should navigate for linking the requirements. You should navigate to the business requirements specification folder, to the BRS folder. Then copy the link of the specific requirements and paste it under prerequisites and epic columns in your test case template. Okay. Now, test steps need to be detailed and sequential. Here's how we proceed. Example test steps of registration page validation. So, you should navigate to the registration page, click the presence of mandatory fields such as first name, last name, email, password, confirm password. Then click on the first name field and type Celia. Then last name Abraham. And click on the email field and type celia.abraham@email.com. Then repeat this for all the other fields. This is a granular validation. Then click on the submit or registration button to check if the form processes correctly. Now for each step, the following results should be the fields should be clickable and allows input. For example, type in the first name, then expect that the first name field should accept the input and display it correctly. Then, if the actual result matches the expected result, mark the status as pass. After if it fails and there is a discrepancy, mark the status as fail and note that the issue in the comment. Now, there are some additional field in the test case, like additional field, like scenario, type, priority, Input level, story point, reporter. So you should determine if the test case is for positive or negative testing. For now, we are focusing on the positive testing. In priority, you should define how critical the test case is, like high, medium, or low. In suit level, identify if the part is smoke testing or regression testing. Then in story points, allocate points based on the effort estimation, like 2 points for 2 days of work. And then mention the name of the person who prepared the test cases. Now for dividing team, split into groups based on the modular, like modules like team one, registration, and login. Team two, search, add to cart, etc. The responsibilities are assign tasks equitably within the teams. Then select a team lead to coordinate the efforts. Now, then you should use Confluence to store your requirements and test case documentation. Copy the Epic link or the Jira key from Jira and paste it in the corresponding fields of your test case. Then identify which sprint you are working and label your work accordingly. We'll discuss them later. Now, each team will complete the registration page test cases, create and organize test cases in Excel with different sheets for modules, then report the team lead and module assignments on WhatsApp. Now, for emphasizing collaboration, foster your teamwork by ensuring all members contribute to their assigned tasks. Then help teammates understand unclear requirements. Then divide complex modules like registration into smaller user stories. Then in final steps, you should be thorough, like list every step in detail. Then use traceable link, like ensure every test case is linked as it's required. Then configure details for tools like Jira and Confluence will become second nature with practice. Okay, so in summary, after the CRS, we go to SRS and FRD. Then product backlog. Then we should complete different steps. It is going epic 1, epic 2, etc. Then we take them to Confluence and Jira. Okay, now let's begin with Confluence. You should have opened your Confluence account with your email and password. Are you all ready? And once your Confluence, let me show. Once you're in Confluence, you can see the three dotted part in the left hand side of your screen. Click on the Access Jira software. From there, you can choose which project to open in Jira. Now we'll create a space in Confluence. Here's how. So here you can see create a new space. Click on create a new space. You will be presented with several options like blank, space, team, etc. For now, let's choose blank space. Okay. After choosing that, you will see um, you will see the naming of your space. So write down like project BC. Okay. Once you have named your project, click the create button to finalize it. Now that we have our space in Confluence, we'll create project in Jira. Okay. So here's how to do it. Navigate to Jira by clicking the dotted part again and selecting the Jira software. Okay. In Jira, click on Create Project. Here you can see the Create Project part. Then choose. You can choose after project. Create project. You can see that. Um, Here you can see Scrum. Okay. Then for the project name, after choosing Scrum, you will see this. Add project details. For details, you can select the name Project BC. After naming it, click on Next and continue. You will notice that Jira automatically generates a J key. This key is important as it uniquely identifies the project in Jira. Okay. Now, now comes the integration part. So here, let me show you. Uh, Let me copy all this, then discuss. So, go to your Confluence space setting. Here you can see the space setting on the left side. Then scroll down and click on application links. Here you can see the application link. Then select the application, select in add link. You can name the link whatever you want. Okay. Um, Now, in the application link section, after clicking add link, in your link option, select Jira. Okay, here you can see Jira as the system you wish to link to. You can name the link whatever you want. I recommend using Project BC so it matches our project name. Then select Create to complete the linking process. Okay, after that, you will be taken to this home page, Project BC Home. All right. Now to let me show you how to add shortcut in the sidebar. In the Jira project, uh, click the share option. Okay, here the click the share option and copy the link. After copying, then go back to Jira and click add shortcut. Then paste the copied link into the shortcut and give it a recognized name like Confluence Project BC so that you can identify it. Now, when you click on the shortcut, you will be directly taken to your Confluence space for Project BC. Okay. Now, navigating from Jira to Confluence. Okay. Let me show you the process first. We have already visited the Jira project page, right? Now let's consider, wouldn't it be better if we could directly access Jira from Confluence rather than going through Jira first? So let's take a look at how we can do it. Firstly, go to the timeline in Jira. Here's the timeline. Can you see the share option? Now go ahead and click that. Now copy the link from here. Once the link is copied, let's move on to Confluence. So now go to your Confluence page. Do you see the shortcut options here? Then let's set a new shortcut. So paste the copied link here and named it Jira Project BC. Now, whenever you click this shortcut from Confluence, it will directly take you to the Jira board. This is how we can link Jira to Confluence to a sidebar shortcut. Now, connecting Jira issues with Confluence page. Now, let's look at linking Jira issues directly with Confluence. First, we need to create a page in Confluence. Notice how the option for creating a page has changed over time. Earlier, it used to be a create page. Now it's under content option. Okay. Now, for demonstration, let's name this test issue links. This will hold all the user stories and issue links we create in Jira. Now click on publish this page. Here you can see the publish page. Now, after going back to Jira, you can see the uh, backlog option, right? Here is the backlog option. Click on it, and in this section, we'll add all of our upcoming works like tasks, bugs, user stories, etc. So let's go ahead and create a few issues here. All right. Now, here you can see the create issue option. You can see that, right? Now, after clicking it, you will see options like create a test, bug, or user stories. Let's create a couple of user stories. For instance, like user story one, user, and press enter. Notice that a Jira ticket is automatically generated. Okay, like user story 001. Let's create another one like user story 2 and repeat the process. Now let's create a bug and a task as well. Notice that the bug are shown in red where the user stories appear in green and task in blue. We have now created a couple of issues. Bug 1, user story 1, task 1. They are all in the backlog. Now let's return to Confluence. After returning, Under the test issue links, we can create a child page. Click on the plus sign and next to the child page, and let's name it RS user story 1. So BRS user story 1. Okay. This will link our first user story. So it is created. Now linking Jira issues to Confluence page. Now for this, let's go back to Jira's backlog and click on user story 1. After clicking a side panel will appear. Now we are going to link this user story to the Confluence page we created earlier. Click on the link option on the panel and click on link Confluence page. Uh, in the dialog that appears, filter by the space of your project. Once you found BRS user story 1, click on it. Now, when you go back to Jira, you can see that the user story is linked to the Confluence page. You can easily access the Confluence page directly from Jira, tracking the progress of your work. Now, let's understand the link option in Jira. Okay. So, there's also another ways to link Jira issues with Confluence. Instead of using the side panel, you can click on the Jira ticket. For instance, let's take user story 1 and click on the drop down and select link on the Confluence page. Okay. Um, just select link on the Confluence page. Just as before, filter by your project space and link the user story to the appropriate Confluence page. Now adding a single issue in Confluence. Now let's start explore how to add a single issue directly to a Confluence page. First, let's go to test issue links and click on edit. Here, after typing slash and write Jira, you will select the Jira legacy. This allows you to display Jira issues directly to the Confluence. Then then let's search for the issue you have created. For example, let's add bug 1. Paste the ticket number on the search box. Here is the search box. And once found, selected. Then you will be able to insert the single issue of your page. Now to add multiple issues, here is like single issues. So to add multiple issues, use the same Jira macro. Once you insert the macro, you can filter by the issue types. And Jira uses a table format. This is great for tracking progress across multiple tasks and bugs. Now for linking Jira to Confluence using URL. Another way to add Jira issue to Confluence is by copying the URL of the Jira issue and directly pasting it into the Confluence page. This creates a link that can take you back to the Jira issue from the Confluence. So after you click the link, you should be able to see this like PB, task 1, etc. So let me show you. So in product backlog, if you click view all issues, you can see all the issues here. So here you can filter them by project BCA order by key in ascending order. After you click this filter and issue a Jira filter, here you can see them in your page in a table format. Okay. Then after you click on that, you will be redirected to this page test issue link. So today we have learned about how to link Jira and Confluence, create issues in Jira, link those issues to Confluence pages, and track progress effectively. This integration can really streamline your project management process. So for your homework, I want you to try linking at least 5 issues from Jira to Confluence. Create pages in Confluence for different user stories and make sure to track the project by using both Jira tickets and Confluence pages. This will give you hands-on experience. So do you have any questions before we wrap it up? Great. I look forward to seeing you progress on this for the next session. Till then, take care of yourself.